Today, we dive back into the world of Studio Ghibli, the story of Kiki, the young witch who must spend a year establishing herself in a new town, is an enduring tale of independence and self-discovery. Both Eiko Kadono's 1985 middle-grade novel, Kiki's Delivery Service, and Hayao Miyazaki's 1989 Studio Ghibli film share the core premise, yet they diverge significantly in narrative structure, thematic depth, and fantasy elements. While the novel is a light, episodic journey of character growth, the film condenses the experience into a more focused, emotional arc centered on a crisis of confidence. The result is a fascinating case study in what it means to adapt a story and how two very different versions of the same material can each feel completely, unmistakably right. The most prominent difference between the two works lies in structural cohesion. The book is best described as a collection of loosely connected short stories, an episodic narrative where each chapter presents a different scenario or situation Kiki finds herself facing. This structure aligns perfectly with the author's intent, a lighthearted, fluffy, sweet, and easy-to-consume read for young middle-grade readers. Kiki's journey to the seaside town of Koriko is a series of gentle challenges, delivering paintings, musical instruments, or helping to restore a cherished local landmark. Each chapter reinforces her growth and determination, but there is no singular, overarching plot driving the entire novel forward. The focus remains on the positives and benefits of growing up, showcasing Kiki's perseverance and her ability to learn from both magical and non-magical folks she encounters along the way. This structure is a deliberate creative choice, not a limitation. Kadono isn't building towards a climax, she's building a life. The cumulative effect to all of these small chapters is a portrait of a young woman quietly, steadily figuring out who she is, one delivery at a time. It's gentle in the best possible sense. It doesn't demand anything dramatic of Kiki because real growing up rarely announces itself with a dramatic crescendo. It happens in the margins, in the quiet moments, in the ordinary work of showing up day after day. The film, by necessity of the medium, transforms this episodic structure into a more unified plot driven by an emotional crisis. Here's where I will give you a little bit of a spoiler warning before we continue. Miyazaki quickly establishes Kiki settling into the town and launching her delivery service, and then introduces the narrative anchor that defines the film's second half. Kiki loses her ability to fly and speak to her cat, Gigi, after flying through a storm and falling physically ill. This creates a powerful, sustained plot tension that the novel never attempts. The film's focus is not simply on doing the job, but on recovering the ability to do the job, leading to a singular dramatic climax where Kiki must reclaim her power to save her friend Tombo from a runaway airship. The film is less about the gradual metaphor of growing up and more about surviving a single, debilitating crisis of self-doubt. Neither approach is superior. They are shaped by the demands of their respective forms. A novel can breathe. A film, working against the clock, needs a spine. Both works feature a low-key approach to fantasy, but they handle the role of magic, and particularly Kiki's relationship to her cat, Gigi, in strikingly different ways. In the novel, the concept of witches is seemingly woven into an otherwise realistic setting. Witches serve their communities through their individual talents, making tonics, delivering goods, using their gifts in practical, grounded ways. Kiki's own magic is limited primarily to broom flying, the occasional reference to spells, but the narrative's attention is always drawn more to her hard work, quick thinking, and resourcefulness than to anything supernatural. This is a book that wants to elevate Kiki, the person above Kiki the witch. She is confident yet uncertain, capable yet learning. A protagonist whose charm comes not from her powers, but from her character. Gigi, her trusty black cat, functions as an extension of her inner voice, a visualization of her thoughts, a voice of reason, a complainer, but always an active partner in navigating whatever challenges the latest chapter has placed in front of her. If you've made it this far and are enjoying what you've seen and heard, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. The film retains Kiki's sole magical power of flight, but uses its loss as the story's primary emotional mechanism. Here, magic is less about what Kiki can do and more about what she feels. The loss of flight and her sudden inability to communicate with Gigi are not plot complications in the traditional sense. They are emotional manifestations of her growing self-doubt and her deepening sense of isolation. She hasn't lost a skill, she lost herself. And the restoration of her power doesn't come through a spell or a magical remedy. It comes through an act of selfless heroism, catalyzed by the advice of her artist friend, Ursula, who reminded Kiki that her value belongs to her alone, that she will fly again when she truly believes she can. This shift makes the film's magic intensely, beautifully symbolic. But Miyazaki takes it one step further with Gigi. Once Kiki loses the ability to communicate with her cat, he remains a regular cat for the rest of the film, and, significantly, in the sequels as well. This is one of the film's most quietly heartbreaking details. The magical bond isn't restored when her powers return. It's gone, and rather than treat this as a tragedy, the film allows it to simply be, implying that something irreplaceable was exchanged in the process of growing up. Kiki's innocence, the part of her that could speak to her cat, that experienced the world with a child's unfiltered openness, has been permanently altered by the passage through doubt and back out the other side. She is stronger for it, but she is also, in some small way, different. That's what maturation actually looks like. Both the book and the film deliver warm, affirming messages about independence and self-worth, but the emotional register and delivery are distinct in ways that reflect the different audiences each work is really speaking to. The novel is a gentle, sustained affirmation of respect and tradition, the rewards of hard work, and the slow, steady nature of independence. Kiki is determined to carve out her own path without abandoning her values that her parents instilled in her, striving to be the best which she can be by delivering, as she put it, both packages and happiness. There's no dark night of the soul here. The book trusts that ordinary challenges, faced with ordinary courage, are enough to shape a person. It's a philosophy that feels almost radical in its quietness. You don't need a crisis to grow. Showing up is enough. The film, working in a compressed dramatic form, presents a more intense version of this message. The sudden climactic rescue of Tombo from the crashing Zeppelin provides the burst of pure necessity that jolts Kiki back into belief. It is exactly the kind of external pressure that the book never requires, but it works because cinema is a medium of escalation, of visual spectacle, of emotion made large and physical. The film's slightly abrupt conclusion, her powers restored, a wave of goodbyes, the implied end of her training year, can feel like a random stopping point to some viewers, but it earns its ending. The magic it leaves behind is the same one the book has been quietly whispering all along. Your self-worth is internal, and belief is the true power. What's remarkable is that despite how different the two works are in structure, tone, and dramatic stakes, they arrive at essentially the same destination. Kiki in the final pages of the novel and Kiki in the final frame of the film are recognizably the same person, a little wiser, a little steadier, a little more at home in herself than she was at the beginning. In essence, the book is like a quiet, comforting walk through a charming new town, while the film is a dramatic flight that ends with a heroic, defining leap of faith. Both are successful in their medium, and both serve as genuinely beautiful introductions to the anxieties and joys of growing up. But taken together, they offer something even richer, a reminder that the same story, told with honesty and care, can feel completely different depending on the shape of the vessel it's poured into, and that neither version diminishes the other. If anything, knowing both makes you love each one a little more. Have you read the book and seen the film of Kiki's Delivery Service? Which do you prefer? Let me know down in the comments below. This has been 3BC, Past Present Pop Culture. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.